Let me react to a particular meme that Padma put on the AVR group. The meme quotes the Bhagavad Gita as having talked about the Varna system as per occupation, and that is the 13th shloka of Bhagavad Gita. That's what it said, right, Padma?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I knew that was bunkam, but before I decided to tell you that it is bunkam, I thought it necessary to have a look at the 13th shloka. The 13th shloka has nothing to do with Varna. In fact, I flipped through the pages of, I've flipped through the pages of the, what should I say, the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. And as far as my knowledge was concerned, the Bhagavad Gita doesn't talk about the Varna system at all. It only talks about Dharma. Okay, and there are all kinds of interpolations that have been made. And despite the interpolations, this number 13 does not talk about Varna. Nothing in the Bhagavad Gita talks about the Varna system or the Jati system. It doesn't talk about it at all. There's no mention of it. There is only one mention of Kshatriya Dharma. You must understand that the Bhagavad Gita is all about dharma, the different kinds of dharma, and how people will have to sacrifice their lives if necessary to uphold dharma. Because if you look at the classification of the Vedas, the first Veda, these days everybody is calling it Satya Yuga, not the first Veda, the first Yuga is called the Satya Yuga these days, but that is wrong. It is Kruta Yuga. The second Yuga is the Treta Yuga. The third Yuga is the Dwapara Yuga. And the fourth Yuga is the Kali Yuga. Now you must understand one thing. The Sanatana Dharma belief is in degeneration of dharma, and because of the degeneration of dharma, you will find that people have to take recourse to various different kinds of means to prop up dharma. Now, the Kruta Yuga basically is a yuga where there is only dharma. Everything is fine there. There is only dharma. There is nothing else in it. In the Treta Yuga, see, there are these kalpas. A kalpa is a cycle. I'll talk that in detail a little later. The kalpa is something that is one cycle, and we are now in the 14th kalpa, which means that this is the 14th cycle of creation, and we are in the Kali Yuga of the 14th creation. Now you must understand that there are a lot of confusions. If you look at the Treta Yuga, you see adharma coming in, and that is in the form of Ravana. But adharma could be conquered by dharmic means by Rama. But in the Dwapara Yuga, which is where the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita are set, you will find that adharma is now almost as powerful as dharma. So Krishna, or actually we should be calling him Govinda Shauri, he basically advocated the fighting of adharma with adharmic means so as to protect dharma. And the Kali Yuga, of course, is beyond redemption. There will be increasing adharma till such time that the world cannot exist anymore. And that will be the end of this kalpa. So when we are talking about Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, and Bhagavata. Bhagavata is the story of Krishna and his teachings. So what you must understand first and foremost is that there is in the Bhagavad Gita no mention of either Varna or Jati. That is a problem with this WhatsApp university. It puts all kinds of stuff into things and makes us believe that that is the truth, which it is not. It only speaks about dharma. It is Arjuna getting a lesson in dharma, and he's getting a lesson from Krishna to overcome his emotional side, which says, how can I kill my great-grandfather, my cousins? How can I kill them all? They are family. And so he basically wants to do astra sannyasa, which is give up weapons and not fight the war. It is at that time that you will see that Krishna is somebody who preaches the Bhagavad Gita to uh, Arjuna. In fact, I don't know if you're aware of this. There is another Gita that precedes the Bhagavad Gita. That is called the Ashtavakra Gita. That is set in the Treta Yuga. And it is Rishi Ashtavakra preaching what is dharma to Janaka, the father of Sita. So you see, these are all dharma oriented. There is no place there for varna. And there are, if you actually look at the Mahabharata, if you look at the Mahabharata, then if you look at the stories in it, even the Chandravanshis, the Kurus or the Kauravas, descendants of Kuru, they are called Chandravanshis. They are not even proper Kshatriyas. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Kshatriyas don't exist in the, what should I say, in the Mahabharata. Proper Kshatriyas don't exist. Govinda Shauri, Krishna, is a Yaduvamshi, Yadava. Now, if you see N.T. Ramarao's depiction of Karna, you have this thing where Karna goes to take part in a competition for what do we say, for the bow and arrow, to display their skills with it. There's a competition. And it says Karna was not allowed to take place because he was a Sutaputra. Suta is Shudra. So, since he was a charioteer's son, he was a Suta Putra. So they say you cannot take part in it. You read the Mahabharata, there is no such thing anywhere in it. In fact, the Veda Vyasa, the funny thing about this is that the Mahabharata is the story of Krishna Dvaipayana. There have been different different Vyasas, but the person who is supposed to have dictated the story of the Mahabharata to Ganapati is Krishna Dvaipayana. Now you must understand that Krishna Dvaipayana, whose family it is that we talk about, is himself a Sutaputra. He is himself a Sutaputra. Because Parashara fell in love with this particular lady who belonged to the fisherwomen's community. And she was called Matsya Gandhi because she was a fisherwoman, because she went fishing. She used to smell of fish, but she was very beautiful. So Parashara was in love with her. Basically gives her this thing which says that you shall not smell of fish anymore. You will smell of good things like flowers, sandalwood, and all that. It is Parashara's family that you see is coming into the picture. So Matsya Gandhi is a Shudra. Now, Bhishma is the son of
Parashara is Shantanu.
Yes, Shantanu Maharaj.
Parashara is different from, I'm going to come to Shantanu.
Okay.
Yeah. Bhishma was the eldest son of Shantanu and Ganga. That is why he's called Gangeya. But Shantanu, while traveling by boat, fell in love with a Boya king's daughter. Boya chieftain, sorry, not a king. Okay. And I forget her name. Does anyone remember? Shakuntala, right? No. Is it Shakuntala? Anyway, let me cross-check that. She's a fisherwoman again. And she basically says, when Shantanu wants to marry her, he says, she says that I don't want to marry you because you already have a son, Bhishma, and he'll be the heir to the throne. What about my children? So you see what happens is that Bhishma, in order to facilitate this marriage between King Shantanu and this woman, what is her name?
Sati.
Sati. Satyavati.
Satyavati.
Satyavati. Thank you. Satyavati, he does this pratignya where he says he will never marry, he will never lay claim to the throne, and so that his progeny don't lay claim to the throne, he said, I'll remain a bachelor. So Shantanu marries Satyavati, who is again a fisherwoman, and he has 3 sons, Vichitra, Virya, anyway, doesn't matter. Now all these 3 sons die, and at that particular time, Vedavyasa, who is also the son of Satyavati through an earlier marriage. Vedavyasa himself was not a Brahmin. He was not a Kshatriya. He was a Shudra. He was born to Satyavati out of a wedlock. And so what Satyavati decides is that she will get the wives of her 3 sons are Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika. These are the 3 sons that, sons' wives, her daughters-in-law. All her 3 sons perish. I can only remember the name of Vichitra Virya.
One more is Chitrangada.
Chitrangada is one.
I think only he has 2 sons. One
No.
is Bhishma.
Bhishma?
3 in total, including Bhishma.
Possibly. Yeah. So, because they die, then before they die, when they have to be married, Bhishma goes and conquers the kingdom of which Amba, Ambika, and Ambalika were princesses. So he conquers, brings them, and asks them to marry these people. Amba is in love with another king. So Amba basically says, I don't want to marry this man. And so Bhishma says, okay, you're free to go. You're free to go. The other two will marry. So Amba goes and she is rejected by her paramour, and so she commits suicide, and that leaves Ambika and Ambalika. Now, what happens is that Satyavati summons her son Krishna Dvaipayana, and she says, let there be progeny so that the Chandravamsha can continue. So Vedavyasa agrees, but Vedavyasa apparently had done tapasya till then, and so he was very ugly, unkempt at that time. And when he went to fornicate with Ambika, Ambika couldn't bear his sight, so she closed her eyes. And then you'll see that he goes to Ambalika, and Ambalika is again unable to look at him, but she doesn't close her eyes. She goes completely pale, drained of blood. And since the Vedavyasa is still not satisfied, he goes to a dasi, and that particular dasi receives him without reservations. Now, because Ambika closed her eyes, you have Dhritarashtra, her son, being born blind. And because Ambalika turned pale, her son Pandu is somebody who's born with something like vitiligo. But since the Dasi was fine, she could accept Vedavyasa as he was. She gave birth to Vidura. So Vidura is a complete Shudra. Okay? Is a complete Shudra. Father is Shudra, mother is Shudra. And among all the three brothers, it is Vidura who is supposed to be the most intelligent, balanced person. And within the Mahabharata, there is a pretty long chapter on the wisdom of Vidura, which is called Vidura Niti Shastra. So the Mahabharata, the Bhagavata, like I said, is the story of Krishna, and the Bhagavad Gita, they don't place, the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavata don't even talk about the Varna. Though there is talk of Varna in the Mahabharata, you see that there is no Kshatriya there. Who's the Kshatriya? They are all Shudras. If you read the Mahabharata carefully, you'll find that it is all Shudras. So NTR standing and saying Kshatra Dharma, all that is rubbish. They are not Kshatriyas, they don't have Kshatra Dharma. So the point that I'm trying to make, Madam Padma,
Yes.
is that please don't rely on WhatsApp University.
No, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
But there was some kind of hierarchy and discrimination, no, sir.
Not in the times of the Bhagavad Gita. That is much later. Much later. Yes, there was. The Brahmins tried to take over. I'll tell you that story as well. It's not a story. What I mean is, I consider myself a storyteller. The way I teach is like I tell stories. So you will see that as we progress, you will see that there is, what do you call, there is no real Varna thing. So let me put out the end for you and I'll complete the arguments later. The end is that the Varna system was an aspiration. That is how people wanted things to be. It didn't turn out to be like that. It didn't turn out to be like that. Okay, and the fact that this is an Aryan thing, and there are so many non-Aryan people living in India before the Aryans came, there are social groupings. I won't call them castes. There are social groupings that do not fit either into the chaturvarna or the pancha jati system. So at one level, it is just an aspiration, which I don't think ever got fulfilled. So if you have anything to say, please say.
Okay. As you're saying that there is no Varna system as such which existed, but there might be something similar to that which existed, but the nomenclature might have been different. But the dominations and the discriminations might have existed for
They
sure.
came later. I shall tell you how the varnas were given to people, not occupation.
Okay.
Not occupation. It is natal charts. I'll
Okay.
tell you about Vastu Shastra.
But still, till now, people do tell, right? That now we have different meanings of caste, but originally people used to associate caste with occupations only. Now Brahmins were such caste who used to perform so and so. Kshatriyas were such caste who used to be kings. Shudras were such who used to
Where
do some
are the
business.
Kshatriyas?
During the ancient times, kings and emperors.
I'm talking about the Mahabharata. Where are the Kshatriyas? These are Shudras. Rashtrakutas are Shudras. All these are Shudras. I'll talk about that.
Okay.
This was a maneuver that was carried much later by the Brahmins to take superiority. And you will see that the Kshatriyas fought back. So, redacted Vedas are Upanishads. And the Upanishads pose a challenge to the supremacy of the Brahmins, which the Brahmins incorporated into the Veda. In the Upanishad, you will find that Kshatriyas claim that they are higher than Brahmins.
Okay.
But who are these Kshatriyas? That is the question.
Yeah, I was about to ask that.
Yeah.
And who were the original Kshatriyas? What were the
They're
criteria to be grouped under?
natal chart.
Okay,
We'll do that in the next class.
sure. And
Okay.
what we think just it's wrong, right? The upper belief just only a king or an emperor is a Kshatriya.
No, that is
It's wrong.
absolutely wrong. You
Right.
need not be a king to be a Kshatriya.
Mhm.
You don't have to be.
Right.
And you don't have to be a Purohit to be a Brahmin. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So we'll talk about that in the next class.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Before Yasmin shouts at you, let me let you off.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rachna.